We're less than a month into free agency, but already teams have been shaken up left and right. Klay Thompson, Paul George, and Mikal Bridges are some of the few notable names that have found new homes, and with familiar faces and new places, that means new duos are on the horizon. Today's video, we're going to rank the top 10 duos going into the 2025 NBA season. If you are new here, please be sure to consider hitting the subscribe button as we are on the road to 3,000 subscribers and we are very, very close. We're also uploading nearly daily during this off season, and it's going to continue much more when the season starts. Without further ado, let's get right into this thing with number 10. Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo take the 10th place spot for me. Now, it's worth noting Kevin Durant and Devin Booker could be here, Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns could be here, De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis could be here, but neither of these groups have accomplished what Jimmy and Bam have done in the last 3 or 5 years. Jimmy and Bam have been consistently in the finals or making deep playoff runs since 2020, and always as the underdog. It seems that they continue to be the underdog as I rank them this low on this list, while some of you probably don't even want them to be here. Groups like Edwards and Cat will be into the top 5, into the top 7 next season. And the same thing could go for Booker and Durant. However, we're talking about duos and not teams, and as far as I'm concerned, all that Anthony Edwards and Cat have done is make the Western Conference Finals, and that's phenomenal. Again, they are going to be great for years to come, but we're talking about their tenure as a duo. Jimmy's days in Miami may be over, as him and Pat Riley have what the media dubs to be a silent beef. However, he embodies the Heat culture perfectly, and there's no denying he can win games when they matter the most. At number 9, we have Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. I think this duo is going to shock a lot of people this year if Kawhi is healthy. I understand at this point in his career that is a huge, very, very big asterisk, but James excels when he has a bigger role in the offense and talented role players who can jump around him, and that's exactly the formula for this upcoming Clippers team. Kawhi honestly is the perfect star to play alongside Harden, as James or Kawhi can be the number 1, or Kawhi can be the silent number 2 on any given night while playing elite level defense. James will run and feed that second unit, as we know he is a phenomenal passer. Yes, his offensive game has been down the last few seasons, but he has still been top 3 in assists every single season. Can they make a run this postseason? Guys, I have no idea. But if this duo is healthy, I could easily see this team winning 50 games, especially if we think back to 2018 when James Harden and Chris Paul won 67 games with a bunch of role players. Obviously, James Harden was averaging like 35 points a game, but I'm just saying Kawhi and James together, I do believe they can win almost 50 games if they're healthy. Again, healthy is a huge asterisk. At number 8, we have Paul George and Joel Embiid, and this may come as shocking to most of you because on paper this duo sounds like a force to be reckoned with, but time and time again these guys have both shown that they do not show up in the postseason. Now, Paul's game will help Joel a metric ton in the postseason because one of the big problems with Joel from the media is that you cannot give him the ball in crunch time and say go get us a bucket. He generally will rely on that foul baiting type of game. Doesn't really have the outside shot you would maybe want him to have. Although he can shoot the 3, it's very relevant that he can. However, with Paul George out there on the perimeter, or just someone who knows how to get a bucket pretty much at any spot on the floor, he pairs very, very well against JoJo. But that's if he actually plays up to the standard we know he can play. Aside from that, the injury concerns are through the roof with both of these men. They're very talented, but they're also pretty toxic as well. Paul is a pretty sore loser when it comes to the postseason, and so is Joel. When things aren't going the right way, I'm sure we're going to hear about it on the podcast, or for Joel, we're going to hear about it in the post-game interview, the same way you heard JoJo complain about Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, and most recently, James Harden. At number 7, we have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and there's not much to say here. We've seen this duo almost 5 years now. They've been as good as you'd want, I'd suppose. Maybe you'd want some more out of them, but an NBA championship, 2 Western Conference Finals appearances. Anthony Davis has been in and out of MVP and Defensive Player of the Year voting. They've only really had one season that was, I guess you'd say, underwhelming, and that was when they reconstructed their entire roster after winning the NBA championship. Still not sure what Pelinka was thinking about that. I think from a skill perspective, they're definitely up there in the top 5, but LeBron is just so old, and I can't in good faith put them any higher, especially after the first round exit that they just had, especially because this is a ranking going into next season, so most of these are projections, which again, I'm just going to keep harping on this. Anthony Edwards and Cat can be on this list anywhere you want them to be, guys. It's just really a matter of how good you think they are. I do think Anthony Edwards is a top 10 player. I do not think that Karl-Anthony Towns is a top maybe 15 or 20 player, so it's hard for me to rank them without being, I don't know, biased or unbiased. Especially because in this postseason, Karl-Anthony Towns was so hit or miss. Anywho, at number 6, Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges, a duo that I'm very excited to watch next season. After taking a monster pay cut, we see Jalen is very serious about winning an NBA championship. Mikal slots in perfectly, not only next to Jalen, but the system and style that New York has been working with. Lengthy, quick three-point shooter, someone who can create his own shot and defend his ass off. Jalen shocked the world this postseason, and I don't see him slowing down. Had they made the Eastern Conference Finals, this duo would be projected a little higher on this list. At number 5, this is a duo that's ranked strictly on respect and speculation. They should be higher, but due to the failure that was last season, number 5 is where they lie. Giannis and Damian Lillard had coaches coming in and out of the locker room, injuries popping off left and right, and honestly just an underwhelming season upon getting rid of Drew and Dame for Dame. But now they're number 5, and solely because I think Giannis is that great, a top 3 player in the NBA on his worst day, can defend, can make a shot pretty much anywhere, developing a little bit more of a bag outside of 12 feet. There's not much I can say about this listing other than that you could have them higher than the next group, and I really wouldn't be too mad at you. Again, this is so opinion based. I encourage you to leave yours. Because at number 4, we have Chet and Shai. If you've been supporting this channel for a long time, you'd know in my eyes, Jokic and Giannis are the best players in the world. And to be honest, the gap from 2 to 3 is very, very big. And that's how great I believe Giannis and Jokic are. I think Shai is the man next season that's going to close that gap. You might be asking yourself, well, dude, what about Luka Doncic? If you have Luka Doncic on the same tier as those guys, that's totally fine. I just have Giannis and Jokic a tier above most of these guys because of their NBA championships, their finals MVP, what they did with the rosters that they had, who they beat getting there, yada, yada, yada. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will be the next man to close that gap, the next man to win an NBA championship. This last season in the postseason, he was unstoppable. The NBA is not a what-if league, but the offseason is a what-if time. And I find myself asking frequently, what if they never fouled PJ Washington on that three-point attempt? Does it go 7? Do they meet the Wolves in the Western Conference Finals? Do they win? I think so. Shai was the only person to dominate the Dallas defense this postseason, and in the regular season, you all know he was a monster as he finished second in MVP voting. I think this is going to be the favorite for the MVP next year, and I believe that Chet is the number 2 aside from Jalen. I do not think J-Dub should be the number 2 on this team. I think Chet pairs excellently well next to Shai. His ability to defend, shoot the ball, be a lob threat. I'm very excited to see this team continue to get better and better every single day. One more small note about Shai. I love his attitude. When he messed up and fouled PJ, he takes full credit. If we're nitpicking and comparing attitudes, I'm rocking with Shai's mindset and attitude 100 times before I'm rocking with Luka Doncic, as he is known to be a whiner. But what superstar isn't? Speaking of Luka, at number 3, we have him and Kyrie Irving, a very polarizing duo. Before the finals, the NBA media dubbed these two the most talented backcourt of all time. And then, for lack of better words, they shit the bed in the NBA Finals. And people say this was an unfair matchup. I think that's silly. I'm here to say it wasn't. Luka shot 1 for 27 in a 3-game stretch from downtown. I think he shot like 20% from 3 this entire Finals. And it turns out that if you do that, you lose NBA games. The duo has potential to beat anyone on any given night. They are insanely talented. Bringing Klay into the mix, all of a sudden you cannot double them anymore. It's going to be, if they were a little bit better on defense, this duo could be higher. But being number 3 in today's NBA is a wonderful flex. At number 2, we got the former champs, Jokic and Murray. I think they could be number 1, but I have to respect the new champs here. I think Jokic and Maul's pick and roll is the most dynamic and unstoppable action in today's game. Their 2-man, it's just undefeated. They read each other as well as the opponents just excellently well. They rarely ever make mistakes as a duo, but this last season they were battle tested beyond belief by the Wolves. Next year is a new year. At number 1, we got the Jays, the champs, the new kids on the block. The Celtics have a dynasty in their sight, and it's up to these 2 men to make sure that happens. But what do you guys think? Can the Celtics become a dynasty? What do you think of this list, of this rating? Was I way off? How stupid am I for leaving Ant and Cat off this list? Let me know in the comments below. If you made it this far, I appreciate y'all support as always. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Stay happy, healthy, and blessed. Peace.